What is going on? How we doing today, y'all? How we doing? I hope the week is going well for you. I'm sending nothing but prayers and positive vibes to everybody out there. Thank you guys for joining us for episode number 33 of Making a Case for Your Lawyer Dreams. As our room fills up, I want you guys to let us know where it is that you're viewing our session from. I see my girl Alex is in the house. I see Point Blank Period. I love that name. That's a fire name. Jamina, what's going on, sis? So as our room fills up, I want you guys to let me know where it is that you're viewing our session from. I'm really excited about what we're going to be doing tonight. I also want to just kind of do a heat check to see where you guys are right now. I know right now in the midst of your journey of trying to go to law school, man, things are just unsettling. You know what I mean? Like literally we're living and breathing day to day, checking our emails, checking our phones. And so I understand that uncertainty. I know oftentimes it can seem a bit chaotic, but I want you guys to be encouraged and realize it's just a process that everybody on their lawyer journey has to go through in order to take the next step in securing the acceptance and also, of course, manifesting and bringing that lawyer dream to life. And so I'm really excited about this guest because I want you guys to oftentimes, I know if you're in the midst of the law school admissions process, you're trying to figure out, what do I need to do? What's the T? What's going on in those admissions offices? What is really that process all the way like? And so I'm really, really happy and excited that we have an amazing guest on. She's the assistant director at Western New England Law School. Her name is Taya, and she's going to be joining us to not only tell us about her story and her journey, but also taking us behind the scenes. I know you guys flooded my DMs and flooded our previous posts this week with questions. So sis, bro, king, fam, we all here to help you guys get clarity on the process and also to get some damn questions answered. Because I want you guys to be able to have clarity in regards to what you need to do and also how you need to move. Because we want to make sure that you guys are moving with purpose, moving with intentions, and also moving with a way that's going to help you be able to secure the acceptance to take the next step in that journey. And so I'm so excited to see our room slowly filling up again. Again, for you guys joining us, my name is Anthony. I'm the founder of Becoming JD, and our goal, our purpose is to try to help as many of you guys get into law school. I am of the belief and of the mindset, I don't care what your LSAT score is, I don't care what your GPA is, I don't care what your imperfect past is, that there is a law school for you, because it's not about what you've been through in your past, but it's also about how you elevated and grew from it. Thus far this week, we've gotten a lot of people into law school, and I'm so excited. And I want to be able to hope that the information that you guys get today is going to be able to help you guys, you watching this live, take those steps as well. One of the things I want to go ahead and let you guys know, I love to be able to have an interactive live. I want you guys to fill my chat box up with questions because I want to make sure that you come away from this session with a clear picture of what it is that you want to do. So, fill my chat box up with questions. We see we got Illinois in the house. We see we got Callie in the building. Let us know where it is that you're viewing our session from. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get our amazing guest on, Taya Wilmot, who's doing the dang thing over at Western New England Law School. Alabama in the house. That's what's up. Sweet home, Alabama. New Jersey, what's up? All right, we got Helena. Wait to see her picture. We got Massachusetts. What's going on, Queen? How we doing today, sis? Oh, no, we got a little delay. We're going to still make it work, though. You there with us, Tara? We got Florida in the house. We got Jersey in the house. Tara, you there with this?
Yeah, it's okay. I was trying to use my AirPod, but it's all right.
Hey,
Can
man,
you hear me?
I got earpods in, too, and God was just like, nah, fam, you don't have to talk into the camera. So, hey, technology going to do what it's going to do, but you know that we are going to always continue to rise like mine. So, nevertheless, I'm really have you here on Making the Case. And of course, thank you so much for responding to my email. I'm really excited about that. And I want to first just give you the floor so people know who you are.
Okay. I kind of don't know what to say. So my name is Taya Wilmot. I am a recent law grad. I graduated in May. So, yes, shout out to if there are any recent grads, but I graduated in May, and in September, early September is when I started this position as assistant director at Western New England. I graduated from Western New England, and while I was there, I was extremely active, most notably the Black Law Student Association president. I was a president for 2 years. My second and third year of law school, I was on the Student Bar Association. I was orientation chair, women's law. I did a lot. So the school kind of was already familiar with me and my leadership, and so there was a spot open, and I didn't know that in April my boss was inquiring about whether I had gotten a position already. My now boss was inquiring, so that the dean was asking around to see if I was interested, and so here I am. And some other things about me: I'm from upstate New York. I went to school in upstate New York. I am one of a general interest of mine is entertainment law and music law. I actually just left from an entertainment law panel that was done. But yeah, that's kind of it. I'm a first generation Jamaican American, and so this was clearly one of the only things that I could do was become an attorney. And so I'm taking a interesting route to this, but here I am, and I'm excited to answer any questions. This is my first time doing something like this. I actually became familiar with your platform recently when one of my friends sent me a screenshot of the admissions letter that you posted from the school, and was like, look, your letter made it. I'm not written, like, my name's not on the letter, but I recognize the name as someone that our committee had went over, and they really loved his application. And so I was like, oh, that's him. Like, that's the guy. And so we reposted it, and so it was a shock when you had emailed me. I was like, is this like, is this a scam? But then I went on your page, and I was like, wait, it's the same name. So yes, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to answer all your questions, and you can ask me anything. I'm on the law school Instagram, just because I wasn't giving out my personal one, but I am not answering questions specifically for Western New England law. I'm here as a resource for law school admissions, everything in general. So ask me anything in general.
Absolutely. And as soon as you're talking about us, my boy Mike with the Mamba
Yes.
mentality, man, when he got that letter, sis, boy, he blew up my phone. He was just like, I got in. I'm good. I'm about to make that trip from Cali to Boston. I was like, I was so proud of him, man. After, because I remember how I saw you is people were giving you your flowers on a post on Instagram, and I was like, shoot, let me go ahead and shoot my shot and see if we could get her to come down and holler at us. And so I'm really excited to have you here. You guys, I want you guys to be able to understand that she's able to talk from so many different platforms that so many people who are viewing this session can be able to relate to. We got somebody that's from up north. We got a lot of NYers in the house. So that's something that's great. They roll deep, like seriously. And also, one of the things that I think that's amazing is you could talk about the experience about when you were applying to law school and going through that process. It's kind of when you go as a first gen, let's be honest, when we first gen, we kind of going through this whole process blind.
Yes.
Trying to figure out what to do. We done heard the myths, we done heard the fears, and we're just really trying to really faith it until we make it. And so I really want to be able to talk about multiple things with you. And so without further ado, let's just go ahead and dive in and let's just talk about first things first. You as a law student, law grad, how was that process when you applied to law school? Because I mean, you know, like you said, from where your background, it's just like, I know what it was when I was growing up. It was like you had three options: doctor, lawyer,
And
engineer,
here.
maybe accounting, but
Yes.
those were the three. And so how is it that your journey started? Because I think I always love to ask people this one question. It's going to sound corny, but hey, I'm going to ask it anyway. When did you fall in love with law?
So it's so interesting. I saw in your caption that you were like, "Oh, she manifested like this." And the funniest thing is, most of my life I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a second grade teacher. Now reflecting on it, I know that it was because I spent most of my time in school, and that was what I saw. I saw teachers, so boom, that's where it was. I even was a teaching assistant in high school. That was my like service learning, community service hours. Um, it wasn't until I took U.S. history that I really fell in love with the way that just policies changed people's lives in kind of like eras of like, oh, the Civil Rights Act, like, oh, like things happening in government, kind of like changing the way society moved. And so then I was like, okay, I'm gonna apply to all my school's political science now, because I was like, that's all I know how to do. And I'm a first generation college student. So my parents were like, well, you're going to college, but what you major in, I guess we can consider that. So they were over the moon, still going to college. It wasn't until the school I ended up going to, their political science department closed. And so my major got switched to law and society with a legal pathway. And truly all God's plan, because I had a new advisor, which I love her. And she saw that I did better in my law related courses. And when we met, I spoke very highly of my law related courses. So she suggested I go to law school, which no one had ever suggested that to me in my life. And so obviously I come back home to my parents and they're like, yes, you're doing that. And a lot of stuff happened, but I was in a 3+3 program that I ended up not going through with and not going into for multiple reasons. And then I went to one law school fair my entire like law school time being, and I had actually not a good experience there, but like I was about to leave the area in tears after my experience with a law school rep. And as I was seeking somewhere to go is when I met the then dean of students at Western New England, and he was just a smiling face. And I asked my questions. The school had all the things that I had wanted. I had already applied to schools by then, but I applied, and this was the first school I got into. I started during 2020, so pandemic, and this school was closer to home. We were going to be in person, which was a big thing for me, as opposed to the school that I was going to go to, which was going to be fully online, and it was another part of the country. And so that was my journey. But one of the parts of my journey that I remember, which is something that pushed me into this position, was that moment in that law school fair when I had such a bad experience with a law school admissions person. And when I'm at fairs, I like make it a point to not be that person, regardless of how I feel. Like, I'm tired, I don't want to be here, but like that was such that was a moment that if I was a different type of person would have swayed me from this and would have made me feel like I couldn't do it. My LSAT, it all was like, basically they heard my LSAT score and was like, so when are you taking it again? Because you're not getting into the school, so you need to take it again. And of course, that breaks your little heart when like that's your top school or that's one of your top schools. I did get in there, by the way, so got in there. Um, so, but I knew I didn't want to be that person. I want to be someone to uplift people through this process, because that could have been the thing that made me feel like I couldn't do it. And so that's what I strive to do.
And let me go ahead and introduce y'all who just joined us. We are here with Taya Wilmot. She is the assistant director at Western New England Law School. Now, you brought up something that I actually want to really kind of ask you about, because oftentimes in this admissions process, literally, so much weight is weighed on the words of someone in admissions. And one of the things I often try to tell people, I say, you guys in admissions, man, you guys have a lot on your plate. You guys are practically living out of a suitcase for practically like 4 months out of the year. And I said, life be lifing sometimes. And I want you to be able to tell people, how should they really take those experiences? Because I had some people, like you said, come hit me up and they're crying, brokenhearted. They're like, I don't know what to do. They just told me no. And what do you recommend for people to do and how they should assess how those experiences go? Because, you can't always think that it means that it's a poor impression on the school, because sometimes it could just be a bad experience.
For me, that was an impression
Yeah.
on the school for me. And I think, yes, like, yes, someone could be having a bad day, but me personally, I don't feel like a bad day, like, that's not an excuse. And after talking to other people, they've had similar experiences with that same person. So I knew that it wasn't one just a bad day, but I think, particularly for people in this office, you represent the vibe and the energy of the school, of the community. And for me, if you're supposed to be the face of an institution and you are making assumptions on my worth based off of a number, and you didn't ask me my name, you didn't ask me my GPA, you didn't ask me what I do, like, you asked me nothing else about myself, that tells me something about the institution. That to them I am also just a number, and to them you're not going to see me as me. When things arise, you're going to, like, black and white. And one, I don't think that's the way that we should be treated. That's not a space that I want to go into. That's not a space that I want to invest into my time, talents, treasures, all of that. Like, I don't want to do that. Um, but also, like, I don't think that's how the legal profession should be as a whole. And, like, that's why we're in the situations we're in the legal profession. And so that was a sign to me that that was not the space I needed to be in. Even after I got that admissions letter, that was a sign to me that that's not the space I want to be in, and that's not the environment I want to create when I'm, like, talking to people in my position.
You got, as you were talking, because it's been a certain pattern of schools that have had this. My students who've had this experience. I'm like, I wonder if we're talking about the same school. But of course, we ain't gonna put nobody's line.
Right. We could talk.
But
We could talk about that after.
nevertheless, but nevertheless, I think one of the things that's also amazing for you in regards to sharing is it's just like, now when you go, now we're in a different era, right? We're in an era now where affirmative action is no longer in place. Now, how has that changed? I know you can't talk about every law school in the country, all 197 of you guys, but how has the approach been different in regards to how law schools are viewing things through a lens differently now that affirmative action is no longer in play?
So, one, for the schools who weren't really putting too much weight on that didn't have quotas and all that other stuff, it doesn't really change anything, besides what the application looks like. So, at least for our school, and from what I know, is that for ABA purposes, for the purposes of, like, reporting after the fact, you still say, like, I self-identify as a woman, I am this, I'm Hispanic, not black. Like, I like, you would still say that, but that information is suppressed from us. What's not suppressed is what you put in your diversity statement, your personal statement, all of the other statements. That's not suppressed from us. So, if, on a side note, if you do want us to know that, you have to put it in those statements, because we're not going to see it, even though you do select that on the application. It's suppressed from us. So it doesn't really change anything, at least for schools that weren't considering it in the first place. What it does do is create not only an opportunity, but a necessity that we look at kind of the fruits of what values do you bring because of your diverse background. So instead of saying, like, she said that she's a black woman through tremendous diversity, overcoming obstacles, that means that she was low socioeconomic status. Like, there's not a space for that anymore. You need to actually spell out, this is how my identity has affected my walk to get here. This is how my identity has affected my path. And we're supposed to look at those values, and we're supposed to highlight the values that connect with the values of our institution. So if your institution already values diversity, when you put stuff about diversity in the statement, boom, that's how we can say, like, that's how we can kind of evaluate the application. So it doesn't change anything, besides now people are changing the names of diversity statements, and they're changing that type of stuff, but it's basically all the same thing. And And now, for the schools that do have the quotas, for the schools at the top that might say like it might mean a little bit something different if they don't see schools that might have had to rely on affirmative action because otherwise they would not have done what they should have done. That it may be a little bit of a change there because now that information is suppressed, and that's when it becomes even more imperative that people do put those values and like the things that they've had to deal with and overcome, or just the things that they've gained. Like I've gained an appreciation of diversity because I'm diverse, or I've gained knowledge of X, Y, and Z group of people because I am a part of those group of people. Like, just put that because they need to know, and then they can count that as like, okay, now I know that this person is a part of this group of people. So I wouldn't necessarily say it changed it much, but now it's more like y'all need to do them diversity statements. y'all need to be connect the dots a little bit more, which can be a good thing because assumptions can also work not in our favor.
So y'all got that tea from Taya, right? So let me break it down very clearly for y'all. So what she's saying is, listen, y'all, law schools only know what you share with them. I know that's a phrase that I say all the time. Alex done heard me say it. Mike done heard me say it. Law schools only know what you share with them. And so the onus is on you to be able to share your story about who you are. No more is there going to be assumptions made because of you may identify with certain groups. Oh man, that's diverse. No. One of the things I tell people, and Ted, correct me if I'm wrong, this is what I tell people. I said, we are now on an amazing time. And I'm sure since you can attest to this too. There were times when we just being how we looked on the outside made us kind of stand out because we were one of few in several circles. But now we're at a time when we apply to law school. I mean, last cycle, sis, we had like 4,000 Black women apply to law school. 2,000 got in. We had about 3,800 Black men apply to law school, and about a little over 1,800 got in. So if we're only going to limit ourselves based off our appearance, we're really missing out on sharing something special about us. And what Taya's saying is, man, spill the tea. Tell them who you are. They ain't gonna make no assumptions about you because remember, you got to stand out in every circle. Today, if it was just about your scores, Taya would be spending all day reading essays.
Honestly, it would be so much easier. You could AI could do the job if that's all we're looking at, and that's why a place that's what a holistic review actually is. But it's important that you give us something to holistically review. So like I explain it as kind of like a puzzle, and like each piece of the application is like another piece of the puzzle, and we don't have the full picture if you are leaving things blank. Now I have to assume what that corner looks like because you didn't tell me. So you might put in one place, you might say like, oh, I was BSU VP in undergrad. Now I'm assuming that this person has had this. You might say you're first generation. Now you have people in committee conversations being like, oh, well, they were first generation, so maybe that's why they didn't. You don't want to do that. Or you have a low LSAT, or you have a dip, which I had. My last LSAT was in between my first and my second. And I had the flu when I took it, but I didn't write an addendum. I just did my personal statement, and that was it. And getting in the position, my boss was like, oh, why didn't you write an addendum? Like, we probably just assumed something happened. You were tired, or that was just a bad day. But like, luckily my second score was enough for me to get in, but let that assumption have been like oh, she just didn't study. Like, that assumption could have worked against me. So I should have written an addendum and advocated for myself on this is why. I mean, I got in, so whatever, but I didn't get into every school I applied to, so maybe an addendum would have swayed those schools that I didn't get into, and just made it more clear. So don't leave any puzzle piece unfinished. Like, give us everything that you have. The applications are long, but I'd rather read a long application and be able to advocate that someone gets in or someone gets off the wait list than giving me the bare bones and now, like, I can't go to my boss with anything. Like, I can't try to advocate for you with anything because you gave me nothing. Like, give us more so we can actually holistically review you.
And let's keep it a buck. We done all heard the phrase. It said, when you assume, you make a what out of you and me, right?
Mm.
Let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it 100. And so I want you guys to also understand what Ted's saying here. You are not going to be flagged for writing an addendum. Literally, the dean told her when she applied, well, dang, girl, why aren't you writing an addendum? Addendums, oftentimes, I think a lot of times, sis, people look at them the wrong way. I feel like a lot of times we carry addendums almost like scarlet letters, like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
God, this is something of shame. This is something of embarrassment. But one of the things I tell people, no, no, no. Think about it. If you're writing an addendum, that means that whatever happened didn't break you. Whatever happened, you bossed up and beat it. And so instead of looking at it like a scarlet letter, look at it like a testimony instead. Look at it as like, yes, this happened. But because that happened, I grew and evolved from that. And by providing that clarity, you're actually kind of providing them an opportunity to show your strength and resilience. But when you don't write an addendum, well, I mean, what did Taylor say? What can I do? I ain't got to.
And I wanted to make sure, one of the things I wanted to make sure I said was, y'all have to understand the applications we get, certain applicants, now read between what I'm saying, certain applicants have the utmost audacity. They got the utmost audacity. They'll apply with a very low, and when I say low, that's subjective based off of the school. So low for different schools mean different things. But I'll speak for us. A lower LSAT score, a 2.1, and nothing. Letters of recommendation from their uncle, from their neighbor, from their dad's partner at the firm, saying that, oh, I've known little Jimmy since he was in diapers. They will apply with that level of audacity. So y'all need to have a little bit more audacity too and apply, because people are getting in. Not necessarily with that. I push for a deny for that file. But like, people are getting in for this level of audacity to exist. People are getting in with it. So have a little bit more audacity, because I think we're a little bit more realist, and we're looking at the numbers and we're trying to weigh, can we get in? But don't be the one person that tells, like, that says no to yourself, because other people are applying and they're getting in. They're not telling themselves no. In fact, they have too many people telling them yes. Clearly someone needs to tell them no. But you all, like, apply to, like, don't, I mean, obviously, like, if you have a score that's like 30 points under this school's minimum or median, now you have to be a little bit honest with yourself, sis. But like, have a little bit more audacity, and if you're on the fence, just apply. Money is a different thing, because I understand that, like, it is extremely expensive to go down this road. It only gets more expensive, honestly. As someone who's almost at the cusp of this journey, and honestly, it never really stops. If we really want to get into it, it's with CLEs and everything like that. So like, it only gets more expensive. So I know saying like apply anyway can be a barrier, but fee waivers, always ask, because the worst they could tell you is no. My mom used to say, closed mouths don't get fed, and y'all ain't gonna get into law school if you don't apply. So apply, especially if you can, especially if you've asked. um LSAC, if you apply for their, like, that financial, like the financial aid waiver thing, and if you get denied, which most people will, because I hear it's like an automated system, so like, most people will appeal, and then an actual person looks at it. That's how you get past that system, but like, that'll help the financial burden. But yeah, apply. Don't tell yourself no. Let them tell you no. That's their job. Your job is to apply. Their job is to evaluate. Let them evaluate and do their job, but y'all don't say no to yourselves, because
And I think one of the most amazing things that you said, because I wrote it in the post, it said, don't say no to yourself. Self-sabotage, I rebuke you. Because I think a lot of times people don't understand that they are sabotaging themselves and their chances. Think about it, y'all. You get a year letter of recommendation. That letter of recommendation got a hit. That letter of recommendation, someone vouching and advocating for you. If it's gonna be regular, man, we self-sabotaging ourselves. If we and if it's somebody who's just gonna say, hey, Tay's a good student, great in class, that's not really saying much.
Yes. Do not have your play cousin write you a letter of recommendation, which is not something I generally see certain people doing.
Are
It's
y'all
not.
reading in between the lines? Are y'all
um
reading this tea from Tay?
But like, if you do have a family member or a neighbor, something that just happens to be an attorney or just happens to have a good job, that I really do not care about that, because that says nothing about you. Of course, they're going to say good things about you. I want to know, how are you in class? Not just, and some professors can only speak to your attendance and the grades you got in the class. Those aren't the professors that you ask. The professors that you spoke to, you were research assistants with, the people who you volunteered with at a homeless shelter or the food pantry, those people who can actually speak to you are the ones that hit more. And for some people who have a quote unquote like a good LSAT score for a certain school, the quality of their letter of recommendation might be able to be mediocre. But if you already know that you're going to need the rest of your application to be banger, please get someone who, whatever your like, if your weak point is your GPA, try to get professors. Don't not address your GPA. If like it's a, if you know it's a little lower, get a professional, or I mean not a professional, get a academic reference, someone that can speak to the fact that like they might have had struggles, but they put forth their best effort. They're good at writing, reading, they articulate themselves. That something, again, give us something. Someone asked, do I need to write an addendum if I have a 3-year schooling gap? I would address it, but addressing it can be as simple as saying that, like, a sentence in, like, let's say your theme is a journey to law school personal statement. You can address the fact that in your journey you had to work to make ends meet. That could be a sentence. Like, you don't necessarily need to write an addendum to address a gap now. If you're saying schooling gap in the sense to where you were in school before you graduated, you took a 3-year gap, and then you came back, you could still you might write an addendum on it if it was something that was like grades. Like, if it was an academic warning type of situation, academic probation, you had to take that time off. But if it was like life was happening, you had a family, you moved, you could just put that in our application. We do have something that asks, was there an interruption to your education? That would be a place where you would put it, and you would not need to write an addendum. But I think you could address it, especially if you think that like that's something that might hinder you. And if during that time period, if you didn't do anything legal, like if you were just like taking care of home, taking care of kids, raising a family, living life, doing that type of stuff, then yeah, address it. Because for some people, that 3-year gap as a paralegal will work in their benefit. For some people, that 3-year gap working at Pizza Hut, I say that because that's where, like, that was one of my first jobs. But you have to connect it to, I was working at Pizza Hut because I needed to make money.
Right.
Now I'm here. Now you move on. Like, you don't need to, it doesn't need to be a long addendum either. Addendums can just be a paragraph to address a specific thing. But I wouldn't say that would be, I wouldn't let the 3-year gap, for a good LSAT, no one would care about the 3-year gap. If you're on the cusp, I would address the 3-year gap, because that could be a reason why someone says like, well, what were they doing? So yeah, I would consider it, but you definitely know your stats.
And I just keep on, to add on to that, the thing is, man, life be lifing, and life affects everybody. But you
Yeah.
leave a gray area there, you're leaving people to make assumptions about you. And so, and oftentimes, it may not be something that you have to address, like she said, separately in an addendum, but in your story, in your personal statement. Because there's a reason 3 years went by, you like, now I'm locked in and I'm ready. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a part of your story. So make sure that you share that story. I got another question for you, sis. Somebody asked from Aaliyah said, what if you've been out of school for a while and your professors are no longer there? I know I had a situation, sis, so my professor was RIP in heaven.
Oh, so okay. Well, if you were out of school for a while and your professors are no longer there, that is and your academics are at question, can be at question, then addressing that in an addendum, saying that like I know that my grades were like this because of X, Y, and Z. Say what X, Y, and Z was. Don't for anything, don't pimp your trauma. Don't say anything that you don't want to say. However, explain why your grades looked the way it did. And then due to the fact, I mean, like if you went to school in if you graduated undergrad in 1985, I don't expect you to hunt down Professor Johnson and get Professor Johnson wife, widow, whatever. I don't like I don't expect you to do that, but still address. I think it's okay. Like you would expect someone who graduated in 1985 to just have professional experience and that their letters to be more professional than academic. Like I don't that's not a problem. But address your academic performance either way and what you've done since then to become a better student and why you're ready for law school now. Because that was a long time ago, but if you're not going to address why you got those bad grades and like what in life has made you more disciplined, more focused, what in life, how have you improved? Have you been taking a job as a paralegal? Have you, had, was that just a tumultuous time for you? And that doesn't really indicate who you are as an academic, like as a student. Address that. So like you don't have to, especially if it's like that. Like we'll see the dates and we'll be like, oh, that was a long time ago. And that kind of goes in with the question about masters program. I wouldn't tell anyone, and my boss says this all the time, I wouldn't advise anyone to go get a master's to cover up a bad undergrad GPA. If you do have if you are already in a master's program and that is already a part of your life plan and that's already what you want to do, that's going to further your career, whatever, whatever. If you are getting an MBA because you want to do business law and you're already going to do that, then we will say like, they graduated in 1985, but they just got their MBA and those like that GPA was better. Then we'll be like, okay, this is a better indicator of who they are now as a student than that. Now, a disclaimer, if your if your master's program was at ICDC college, we may not think that that's like we may not be like, okay, now they got a 4.0 at ICDC, they're a top student. Like we're not going to say that, but like if that's already your case. However, if your undergrad GPA is not where it needs to be, do not go and get a master's program because like that doesn't, one, that's a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of energy, and that doesn't automatically give you acceptance. And I feel like I wouldn't do anything because then you just feel like you wasted money and you wasted time and like you'll just feel worse about a decision if you did all that to get to law school, paid more money than they're already charging you to get to this point, and now you still don't get in. Like that would suck. So don't enter into it to cover it up, but if you're already doing it, if it adds to your life plan, why not? Oh, there's a lot of chatter. Um, how heavily is community service looked at? Currently, community service. People have gotten in with no community service. People do get in with no community service. You could tell by the caliber of people in law school right now that they don't do enough community service.
Stop it.
So, community service is not a necessity. However, I would say that as something that adds to it, your resume as a whole is a part of, like, it's a puzzle piece.
Yeah.
So if your resume is strong, whether that be strong with community service, if you have someone like a director of a nonprofit that you, like, if you were big brother, big sister, and you had someone, a supervisor, speak to who you were, like that would be looked at, because that is, you can, that does say a lot about what you can do as far as like balancing your time, the fact that you work well with people. This is a community service field, either way you cut it. So the fact that you can speak to people, um, that does help. But you can also get that from a service industry job. You can get that from, literally, you say you have a demanding career. I'm pretty sure you have to talk to people in that demanding career. So there you go. That's similar skills. So community service isn't needed. It's not a necessity, but if that's what you need to highlight to push your application forward, then highlight that, especially if you have it. It's not a bad thing to highlight. Work experience viewed, specifically if your LSAT and GPA isn't as strong. Just like I said, work experience, you have to spell it out for people, connect the dots. So just because you worked, like, explain why you working at Target at this time, like, were you working during school, were you working while you were studying, like that's what my addendum would have been. I was actually working, I was working at Target, I was taking 18 credits, I was president of student government, I was doing tutoring, I was doing all that, and I was working like 30 hours a week. My body was tired and I was sick when I took the exam, but I didn't explain any of that. And I could have highlighted the fact that I was doing all of this while still getting good grades because my GPA was good. But like, that's why my LSAT suffered. I was studying while I was in school, I was doing all of this other stuff, and I was working. So highlight, say that the work experience, because you had to feed yourself, you had to feed your family, times is hard, things is expensive, groceries is expensive nowadays, like you had to make money. So that's what you had to do. You prioritize that. But when you get into law school, you will make a little bit of a shift, because if your GPA was bad because you was working, but you're going to keep on working, what you're saying is, my GPA going to still be bad, but I need you to accept me. That's, you have to say, like, anything that you give, like, and this is good practice for law too, like, if it's a bad fact, explain why it needs to be looked at in a good light. So this persuade us into why, like, okay, I was working, but I was working to save because I knew I wasn't going to be working in school, or like, I was working, but now my wife is going to be working and I'm going to be like taking a step back. Or you're in an evening program where they kind of expect you to be working, but now you've learned how to better time manage. See the upward trend in my GPA, like, it got better over time because I learned how to time manage. And like, that's why you, like, things like that are the way how you kind of.
I mean, let's keep it a buck. Like my girl Tiff, the plug lawyer, would say, man, you got to move and operate like the lawyer that you're auditioning to be. And so, and the amazing thing is, it's like, all the elephants in your room that you have to address. Nobody, and who better to address it than you? Whenever you leave things not addressed, you leave room for assumptions. And so,
Mm-hmm.
it's just, be clear. Understand this, man. I tell people, law schools have accepted people with your particular situation and circumstance. But the reason why they accepted them is because they provided clarity and provided security enough for the law school to know that whatever happened in the past, oh man, they learned their lesson. They done grew in the law.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I wanted to ask you to explain really is, because you said, don't pimp your trauma. What did you mean by that? Because I think a lot of times that's some of the fears that people have when they go about being transparent and sharing, some of the things that may have happened in their past. They're like, I don't want people to feel sorry for me and all this other type of stuff. When I tell people, I say, if they feel sorry for you, that means that you haven't completed the story. What you have to do is complete the story, so then they're able to say, oh, that's what happened. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
now I understand that dip. Now I understand that gap. Now I understand why that happened. Okay, now I know that you have a clear plan and you're now self-aware of what happened and taking steps to move past it.
And someone asked about oversharing, so I'll put those together. But one, people can still feel sorry for the things that happened to you, and feel empathetic about like, dang, that happened to her, but yet she persisted, but yet she rose. And
Okay.
so like, um, I when I say don't pimp your trauma is because I think sometimes we may fall, and not even we, because some other people, when I tell you, some other people give, I think people, applicants as a total, may try to find some people try to find the saddest story that they could find as a reason why. It's kind of like, it's kind of like when people said like, oh, my mom permed my hair when I was 4. That's why I don't got the long ponytail now in my big age of 37. Like, it's they try to make that kind of like overcompensate for everything else without connecting the two. So don't feel like you have to do that in order for people to kind of like overlook, like, I know my LSAT is low, but my dog died when I was 7. I don't really want to share this story, but here, let me push it out because I want them to be crying while they read my application, so they're not seeing my report, my CAS report, saying that my LSAT was low. Like, don't tell us a story that you don't feel comfortable sharing, because that's also giving, that's putting a lot of yourself out there, and you don't know if you'll get in, and then you're going to feel some way about yourself because you're like, dang, I told this story that I haven't told anyone, and they still didn't like me. There's something wrong with me. Love, there's nothing wrong with you. This is not an indicator of you, who you are. And but if you put stories that you don't want to put, you could leave yourself open to that. And I feel like you are much more than your trauma. And it's like the stuff happened, and explain, if the stuff that happened affected your application and who you are as a law student, then explain it, then put it on paper. So like, but don't like oversharing, never overshare. Don't overshare, but explain if something that happened, if when you got pulled over and your experience with a cop made you want to get into the like get into the justice field and be someone who was there, if experiencing if experienced some sort of trauma, DV, something, if your parents got a divorce and you realized that you weren't heard as a child, so now you want to get into family law because you want to help uplift children. Like that's how you easily like go into like, okay, this is what happened, but this is who I want to become because this is where the link came in. Or my grandpa died the day before my LSAT. I still took it. That's why there was a score dip. I like, the LSAT doesn't define who I am, and I still want to apply because still look at my other stuff, look at my other previous scores, because this thing happened to me and it affected me in this way, but this is who I am. That's kind of like the cycle of everything. But don't tell us stuff that you don't feel comfortable sharing. Again, you are much more than your trauma. You are much more than what happened to you.
Right.
And if you feel the need to share it, let it be you're sharing it because it connects to why your journey and why you are here, and who you are. So don't try to find every traumatic thing that ever happened to you and put it on the page, because I guarantee you, I'm just gonna be like, it's just gonna be like, okay, what do I do with this? Like, I don't know what to do with all of this. And also, like, nobody wants to read something that doesn't have like an ending to it. Let it end in why you're going to law school, why things, if it's an addendum, why things ended up like that. But this is how you're changing. So like, let it be better in the end in some way, either connecting the dot or like, but I'm doing better. Um, I wanted to also, there's another question, or there
I want
was other ones, but
a lot of questions. And they sending me some to literally to my box. I wanted to ask a quick question too because we talked about it then, and because I really I guess the best place to answer from is from you. It's because oftentimes I really don't know. I've had people come to me and they say, I want to write an LSAT addendum, right? And so when they tell me they want to write an LSAT addendum, I said, well, we have to address a couple of things. We have to ask, why didn't you cancel your score when you had an opportunity to? And what assurances can you give me in your background that what happened on your LSAT is not going to manifest itself in law school? Because I remember when the first time I applied to law school, way back when forever, I wrote an LSAT addendum, and I was like, I have a history of testing poorly on the exam. And I remember Mrs. Purse said, well, damn. So what security is that giving us that you're going to do well on our exam?
Yeah, don't please do not put that you're not a good test taker, you have test anxiety, and all of those things may be true, but schools are looking at, you're gonna have to take the bar. You're going to have to, or like, oh, I don't have history with standardized tests, I don't really know how to take one. Well, when you get to law school and when you get to the bar, you're going to have to take a standardized test. So what you're telling me is you're just not good on standardized tests, and you're most likely not going to pass the bar. You're going to help bring down our like bar passage rate. And why should we admit you then? So that doesn't really give what I feel like people think it's giving
Yeah.
when they say that like they're not a good test taker. But sometimes that is the best like reasoning, and so that's when you really have to dive deep in. For some people, they have to be honest with themselves that they did not study enough. That I even looking back now, I've gotten into law school, I've done whatever, I know I didn't study well enough. I know if I would have studied more, if I would have not worked as much, if I would have like, I'm sure being in student government was like nice and everything, but do I really think that made the difference of whether I would have gotten in or not? No. um so like there's things I should have put down to study more. And so being honest, saying I did not do my best, whatever your best is, because your best may not be a 180, but like whatever my best is, I have to be honest knowing I didn't do that. But sometimes also canceling your score is a fee a lot of times,
Yeah.
especially depending on like there's a fee to see your score before, so you could kind of like, that's money. Taking it again is money.
Yeah.
That's money, time. If you have to work, like that's a barrier, and that's an obstacle that someone has to overcome, and that may not be feasible for you. And explain why it's not, but you need to also make sure that you are doing your best. You're giving them your best scores, even if that means you took it 3 times or you took it more than 3. Explain why you took it so many times. But like, it could just be, I was also trying to do life, and explain it. Life happens. People should understand that life happens. And I know it's a hard pill to swallow, but the schools that you want to go to will understand that life happens, because I guarantee you, if they don't understand that life happens in the admissions office, they won't understand that life happens in the faculty office, in the dean suite. They're not going to understand none of that. So life is going to happen when you're in law school. Life for sure happened for me. So but if they don't understand that, then you have to evaluate, is this school somewhere that's going to understand me? Because my kids still gonna be kids my first year. So are, right, they ain't going nowhere. I can't give them away. So like, they still gonna be mine. I'm still gonna have to pay bills. But like, there's a way to explain, okay, if it was watching your kids, what are you gonna do for childcare? If it was my bills was hitting and I needed to work, your bill's still gonna hit and you still gonna have briefs due. You're still gonna have to read these cases. So what you gonna do? How are you going to commit yourself in a way that you couldn't commit yourself while you were doing the LSAT? And if the LSAT if it was just difficult and you got to be a little bit more persuasive though. So don't say like, oh, it was hard and I just couldn't get it, because more than likely there are other reasons you can point to as to why you weren't getting it. and prep courses are expensive. Someone asked for LSAT prep. I use Khan Academy, but I know Khan Academy is fizzing out and merging into Law Hub on the LSAC website. So use that. I think Khan Academy is still going on right now, but definitely use that and apply to these pipeline programs, these plus programs. I did Discover Law program at University of Buffalo, and we every day for 4 weeks we took an LSAT course, like a live LSAT course with a Kaplan tutor, and that we did not have to pay for. So like that was really good. The books didn't work for me. I took the book. Tried to use the books the first time, and it's too easy to put the books away. So the books didn't work for me, but they may work for you. So you can try those, especially if you can get them for like cheap.
And so
But
what Tay is telling you guys is, okay, if you're going to present a problem or an experience that you went through, you got to give people assurances that, okay, if you're going to get accepted into law school, how are you going to deal with those problems or challenges moving towards law school, right? And so that's the thing. One of the things I tell people, I tell people 4 things. We got to be transparent. We have to take ownership. We got to take all the responsibility because it's us. We made the choice to submit our score. We made the choice. But third, we have to show growth, right? And that part of that growth is showing a self-awareness of what happened, and also being able to show the steps that you're in. The fourth one is show receipts of growth, where you show examples of how you're making moves in your life to try to address some of those challenges. And I think one of the things that Taya said that was amazing is you got receipts around you. You just got to take a minute and pause and look. You graduated from college in spite of maybe those challenges that you had with standardized tests. You're able to be successful in life and manage your family and manage your household and possibly get raises and promotions and being able to do well in life. So oftentimes those are some lifetime examples that you could be able to provide to say that, some of the challenges that I encountered, I've now been putting in work to make those challenges a lot better. So that gives law school security. But okay, all right. Because law schools accept people with so-called low LSAT scores, but it's because they have given them the security to know if you are entering into this place where the stress and the anxiety are on a whole nother level, something you ain't never experienced before, you've given them enough security in your application to be like, sis got it. King can do it. All right, sis?
someone asked about ways to get off the wait list besides a new LSAT score. I wanted to address this. I want to preface this with saying that this is not school specific. Like this is not I'm not speaking. Yes, a general thing. Because what you're gonna hear is take the LSAT again, get a higher score, and it's like obviously if I got a higher score, like duh, yeah. If you're still in school, continue to get good grades because who knows, it may have been, if your GPA was a little higher, maybe that would have pushed you up, but I feel like that's less likely. And if you're not in school anymore, which is most of what's going to end up happening, is you're not in school anymore, I would say one, apply early. Always, especially like you already have the application, you're already waitlisted, especially if you don't get in this cycle. Next cycle, apply earlier because when you apply earlier, your application is viewed in a different lens. If you're applying now, it's a little closer to crunch time. It's deposit season. We're looking at your application with other applications with similar LSAT or that's below a certain LSAT, and we're thinking about, okay, we're thinking strategy. You don't want to be in the thinking strategy stage with law school admissions. So be in the everyone's fresh, it's a new year. They're looking at your application with we have all of these spots. This person deserves a spot, instead of like, dang, we're waiting because someone that applies in a month may also be just as good, so we can't give our 2 spots away. I would say if you're like, show that you're interested in schools. There is a universe where someone meets with me and that meeting can change their waitlist to an admit, can change their waitlist to deny, can change their deny to a waitlist. Like that can shift their application because they met. I had a good conversation with them. They showed their interest. I got to see a piece of who they were because our school doesn't do interviews. Most schools, I don't think, do interviews. And that's where some of us shine more. We shine more in person than we do on paper, which I mean, we gonna shine. We're gonna shine either way, but like once you get in person with us, it's just like you're gonna feel the vibe in a different way. So give them that experience to feel your vibe. Call them, set up a Zoom meeting, and that's someone did that. I have my and I don't know if you can give out like how you would give out my email or something for someone to like contact me after this, but like I have a Calendly link and I regularly send it out. And someone had asked to meet, we met, and right, and that person's, they didn't know yet that they were slated for a deny, but they were, and it happened all at the right timing, and I really liked them. I saw point A to point B. I saw why they were interested, and realistically, could they have been interested in other schools? They probably were, and I knew the strategy behind this. But you got to respect the hustle. And other people, how many people on the wait list or how many people applying never talk to us? And so to take out your time to speak, to ask questions, to ask me questions, for me to be able to ask you questions, and to do all that, that shows a different level of commitment. So when it does come time to look at the wait list and decide who are we going to give this last spot to, and it's July, because it may be July, they're looking at who's going to say yes. They're going to put favor on someone who has shown interest, who, so when they sign up for webinars, they show up, because we see if you're a no-show, and it flags if you don't show up. It flags if you went to a fair and you met with me and you signed in. We see your history. There's literally a log of interactions with us. So we could go and see how often did this person interact with us, either online, either at a fair, whatever. And like I think that people who show a continued interest and an intentional interest in the schools, I feel like you got to respect the hustle. You got to respect someone that knows that this is what they want, and they're not just applying to because their daddy owns a firm and they just need to get this degree and this license so they could work there. They're applying because they actually want this. And that really speaks volumes, at least to me. And I know that we will look and say, like, what has been the interactions with these people. So that's another way. Show up to stuff. Email, be like, don't be don't be annoying to the point of where people are like, damn, like every week she's calling asking about
my neck.
Right. But don't even ask about your wait list thing anymore. Just when they have events, if they have public events, show up. Show up to the events, make yourself known, say hi, introduce yourself, email, and ask to meet, set up a meeting, come and tour schools if you can, because I know you might be applying to a school where you can't, but that's when they have online things. Zoom is a thing. Go and interact with the I always send people to our organization's Instagrams. If you want to meet someone at the school, email, say, hey, can I speak to your Black Law Student Association president? Can I speak to your Latinx Law Student Association president? I'm interested in criminal law. I want to see my chances. Because when it comes down and it's in the summertime and they're looking at who will go, we log those emails. So we're going to be like, they emailed, they're interested. Most likely the president's going to come back into the office and be like, hey, this person reached out to me. Did you give them my contact information? Like you want your name to be fresh, because when it comes time to take people off of the wait list, you want your name to come up to mine. And it may be that your name can come off the wait list when you meet with someone. Wow. And if the meeting was bad, also it could come off the wait list in another way. People have been on the wait list. They've came in, they've toured, they sat in a class, and they've been so lackluster and just like, I guess I kind of just want to come here, and they stayed on the wait list for that reason. And we could have pulled them off, but So you really have to be intentional about how you interact with these schools and know that even if it's not this year, I'm going to still be intentional to next year. I'm going to apply earlier. And now your people are going to know my name. They're going to know my face. They're going to know that I am truly serious about coming here. And that's why you need to give me a spot, because you have a spot to give. So you need to give me this spot. And that's why, yeah, that's how
Okay,
you.
okay. I just want to take a second, Sean. I love calling my brothers and sisters out. Since you had a law school admissions director, just tell y'all to shoot y'all shot. Don't stop.
Don't stalk me, please. Don't do it. Like,
But you schedule informational interviews. Also, what that means, go through visits, y'all. And boy, sis, I had to tell your New York brothers and sisters that drive by their law schools every day when they go into work. I'm like, pull up. And the thing is, let's be honest, in this whole lawyer journey, man, if you're gonna be scared, then maybe becoming a lawyer ain't for you. Because ain't nothing in this game. You got to be able to move with purpose and intentionality. No, you can be shy, but of course, after your first, when you have to do your oral arguments your first year, that shy stuff kind of go out the window.
Yeah, you need to advocate for yourself, and that's something that it doesn't stop in the admissions process. Like, I tell a story about my first year that, like, I wish I would have advocated. I had COVID during finals, and I wish I would have advocated for myself not to take finals when everyone else took finals, because I just came out of COVID, out of an isolation house, and I'm weak trying to learn the parole evidence rule, and like then I end up with a D in a class that I had a B in the midterm. So like it's clear that that affected me in some way, but because I didn't advocate for myself, and I'm not even going to blame COVID because I didn't fight, because I was more like, it's too late. There's no way I'm getting a good grade, feeling sorry for myself. I shouldn't have done that. And so like because I didn't fight, because I didn't advocate for myself, my transcript pays the consequences. And you have to advocate for yourself because no one else is going to. Like, no one else is gonna no one's gonna knock on your door and just give you an admissions to law school or into anything in life. Like, you have to advocate for yourself in every way in life. And I know we are tired because we be fighting for our lives in every aspect of life.
Yeah.
But you have to, if you say this is where you're meant to be, you might not be meant to be at a specific school, because the school I thought I was meant to be at, that I was crying in a roller skating ring when I got waitlisted to a school, that looking back, I don't know why I even applied to that school, like, but that's where you think you're supposed to be. But now I fully do not regret my decision, and like where I went to. So like, you may think you're supposed to be somewhere and it may not happen, but if you know that you're supposed to be an attorney, that you're supposed to get this degree, then you're gonna get it. And it may be delayed, but that don't mean it's denied. It may not be where you think you're supposed to go, but it's where you're supposed to end up. Like, don't tell yourself, don't talk yourself out of it. Oh, well, they put me on the wait list. They haven't emailed me back. That means they don't like me. That is not true, especially in this time. Like, people are looking at who deposits. What does that mean for our numbers? How can we shift things? Like, this is but you don't want to be in this time. Like, this is not a time to be applying, because it's scary business. It's scary, spooky season
We
right now.
But you are right now in the numbers business.
Right.
Literally, you're in the numbers business. Earlier in the admissions process, y'all were like, Oprah, you get an acceptance, you get an acceptance, you. Now it's like, hey man, this is hard times over here, bro.
Right now, you're rationing out. You're really thinking about, like, okay, people are going to take the April and then the June LSAT, and how is that going to change who we have in the seat numbers? It's like a whole mathematical business after a certain point of time, and that's why people say, like, apply. If you know your LSAT is not where you want it to be for applying to this school, apply earlier.
Yeah.
Because give people, like, I don't want you to look at my name and then look at somebody else's name and be comparing the two. I don't ever want that. And as far as making sure like you get off waitlist, I truly do feel like making sure like you are seen and you are known, your intentions are known in the school. You don't know what showing up on a certain day, what setting a meeting will do. That person had no idea that they chose the day that they was gonna get a specific letter. But like you gotta shoot your shot, because if you don't, what they say, like if you don't, what's gonna happen? And shooters
What I
shoot. So
what you won't do, somebody else willingly will do.
they have the utmost, the audacity is at an all-time high in every aspect of life. So like somebody is going to show up to the school, somebody is going to email to set up a Zoom meeting, and if they sign up the Zoom meeting and there's only one spot left, they're gonna get that Zoom meeting,
I mean,
or they're gonna get that spot. So yeah.
I mean, this is facts. This is gems. This is not speculation. This is facts. You're hearing it directly from the source. Now, the thing I want to make sure that you guys are doing, don't just sit here and consume this information and hit the like button and hit an emoji. We need you to act. We need you to move with purpose. You just had an admissions director give you guys the blueprint on what you need to do. Now, of course, this does not guarantee you admissions, but you know what it does? It sure as hell makes sure that you are able to shoot your shot and put yourself in a position to improve your chances, or even being able to get out of the sea of waitlist folks who are just sitting there wait. Because just when people tell me I got on the wait list, so what are you gonna do? I'm just gonna wait. I'd be like, that's not what we do. You got to move with purpose. Now, one of the questions I do want to ask, I know I've been keeping you for a long time,
No, you're all good.
but one of the things I definitely want to tap in and ask you about, because man, I got a lot of people right now that is losing their damn mind. They sit here just waiting. Well, I applied way back then. What should I do? I haven't heard nothing. And I actually tell people, I said, you know what? Hearing nothing is a good thing, y'all.
It can.
Because
Yeah.
as you know, y'all got that one-page rejection letter on the ready.
Yeah,
So
it's a click.
not that yet. That means that you are still in consideration. So tell them a little bit about what's going on behind the scenes. If they're waiting and they haven't heard anything, not a wait list, not nothing, what does that mean?
Now, it could mean that they're backed
Yeah.
up. That is what it could mean. Like the most like plain answer is that what it could mean. We usually, our school tries to get decisions out in 2 weeks, but I had just taken the bar and I had to take some time off, and then it was crazy, and it's generally like the office doesn't have that many people reviewing applications, so there was a little bit of delay. So for those people, it didn't necessarily mean that it was a good thing. It meant that we just hadn't looked at your application yet. However, generally, that usually means that it could be that we're on the cusp, and we're trying to see. I don't like. We're weighing the options. Generally, like I feel like schools, if they are on the cusp, they should just give a waitlist letter. Like I just feel like if they're not, like they know that this is a anxiety filled time, so they should just give a waitlist letter. But that could generally, it could be a good sign that they are waiting. But all the same rules apply whether you're on the wait list or you're still waiting, because we were backed up around the time that the person like let us. If we weren't backed up, then they would have got their decision already and it would have been a done deal because we're not appealing. But because we were backed up, they waited longer, they met, and it kind of changed their decision a little. So like if you're not hearing anything, just told this to a friend that like go to the school. Go to hey, I just want to set up a tour. Don't say anything about your letter. Don't say anything about the application. I just want to set up a tour. Or, oh, you are having this event. I want to attend this event. Because the schools are they're sending you when they're having events. They're sending you stuff. And so go to those events. Go to the things that they're sending out. Go to the stuff on Zoom, the speaker series. go to that stuff. Inquire about, hey, are there any online events? Because I live across the country and I can't go in person. So are there any online events I would really like to attend? Go go DM a student that goes there and just inquire a little bit about, I want to learn more about the school. Do something. Interact with the school in that way. I know that there are some schools who are doing the, like, we're not considering LSAT scores this year, or like we're not considering 20 people's LSAT score. We're going to let them in despite their score.
Push down.
You might wait a little bit, because think about it. They're going to wait until everybody applies and then look at everyone's, because they only have 20. So in that case, you're still in the number. You're going to wait a little bit longer. But if you haven't gotten a deny, it's not a deny. When you get that letter, that's when it's final. Until you get that letter, things can change. And every school may not change it. They might be like, oh, if it's in our system as a deny, it's in our system as a deny. But like, until you get a letter, you ball. Like, until you get a letter, you act as if you're still in the running.
Right. And you know, verse, it says what? Faith without works is dead.
Dead.
And work don't stop after you click submit. That's kind of when the work really kind of starts. You just submitted your application, really, just to say, hey, I'm here. Now
I'm intrigued. Yeah. The work continue until you get that acceptance letter.
There you go.
And even for some people, it may be after, depending on what they want to do with the letter that they got, the package that they got. But like, until you get the deny, you're still in the running. Continue to keep on until you get to that finish line. Keep on going. And then even if you get the deny, I also meet with the people. Don't stop unless you've made your decision to go elsewhere. Then there's no need to do that. But like, if you haven't gotten into the schools that you wanted to, ask if they do like deny counseling or something like that, and they can tell you, because for some schools or for some applicants, it had nothing to do with your LSAT score. Your LSAT score in a different semester in the fall would have been fine, but by the time you applied, like if you apply in June to a place that has rolling admissions and you already was on the cusp, we didn't have space in the class for you. Right. Our quartiles were already set up. We did the math. We didn't have space for your LSAT score that would have gotten you in the fall. If they tell you that, then you don't need to go get a master's degree. You don't need to go get another letter of recommendation, because that's what some places will say, go get another letter of recommendation. You might not need to do that. You may just need to apply earlier. You may just need, and when you apply, when you reapply, don't reapply with the same exact application. When you reapply, don't reapply with the same application, because we are looking at the personal statements. What has changed? And a lot of times I'm looking at the notes. Whoever read, and remember, I started in September. You applied last year. I didn't read your application. So I'm looking at what did they say last year, and if it was lackluster to them last year, and you had a pretty good GPA, like you had a pretty good everything, but it was still a lackluster application, they denied you. I'm looking at that. Nothing has changed. What am I going to do? So change up something. Give me something. Give me your personal statement. You cannot tell me why is your life the same after a year? Nothing has changed. You haven't done anything. Like, you haven't had any newfound, like, no addendums, no nothing. Like, even if your LSAT scored, you didn't take the LSAT again. What did you do in that time period to make you a stronger applicant? What did you realize about yourself? How can you, like, give me something? Like, did you not review your personal statement before you sent it in, and there's hella typos, and now you just giving me the same personal statement? How many, if you applied 5 years in a row, are you giving me the first year's letter of recommendations that say 20, whatever 5 years ago was, 2019, and now you're submitting it now? Now I'm like, these are old letters. Who are you now? Who are you today? You're the same person you were in 2019? Nobody else can speak to who you are?
Ooh.
And you changed jobs, so what's going on? Like, that makes your application actually looks worse when you don't change it. then better, because it's like you're playing in our face, like, in lack of better words, because it's like you're not. Why didn't you change it? If it was just the timing, though, if you met with the admissions counselor and they said you just applied too late, it was June, apply in September. You apply in September, I don't expect you to change everything up, but that's a specific set of circumstances. Most of y'all ain't doing that. Most of that's not everyone's story. So if that's not your story, then why are you submitting the same things that you submitted 3 years in a row? You didn't get in all 3 of those years. What makes you think that you're gonna get in this year with the same exact stuff? Haven't changed nothing, haven't done nothing, haven't nothing. So
I
yeah.
mean, sisters gave you the real, y'all.
Yeah.
They know how to read too. They read the timestamps, so they see the dates. And at the real, y'all, ain't no shortcuts in this, man. It's no shortcuts. If this is something that you say you're passionate about, something that you say you want it all life, it's not just going to say in your words. It's going to say in your actions. So getting updated LORs, I know it may be hard, but hey, do you want this or not? Kind of what she's saying. And she's coming from a position of love, judgment-free zone, because she wants to see everybody out there present their best self. She don't want, we ain't about to sabotage life. She wants to make sure that you're positioning yourself to do your best. Sis, man, all these gems you dropped tonight, man, I want to just thank you, thank you, thank you. And one of the ways I like to always end our show is like this. I know right now, and of course, as you know, during this, there are a lot of ups and there are a lot of downs. And I always like to have my guests be able to, it's Wednesday, Wednesday night Bible, how we get down.
I
I
was
want
I was just in counseling right before this. I would have been, if I was back home, I would be in Bible study.
me too, right? And so I want you to leave to someone out there who's on the cusp of giving up. Someone who's on the cusp of thinking that, you know what, I got my rejection letter. This means this is not supposed to happen. Or they're nervous or anxious because, that big April LSAT about to come up now. And I want to give you the floor to close us out with some encouraging words to people out there who may be in the midst of going through it right now, which we all kind of go through during this process.
Yeah, this process is a very scary process, and it only gets scarier with the least amount of access that you have. If you're a first generation, if you don't have people in the family you can call on, if you haven't, like, if you're not working with attorneys already, if FAFSA was struggling for you, most likely this is also going to be a struggle, and for so many of us, FAFSA was a struggle. So one, give yourself, breathe. This is not an easy. I don't know many people who said that the law school admissions process was easy. And I have a friend who's an attorney right now, a prosecutor right now, who literally said when she got the call that she got in, she didn't think she was going to get in anywhere. And she is a prosecutor right now, passed the bar first time. And that's the story for so many people that I know. And so it is for you. You're on here, you stayed on here, it's the wee hours. You have the determination, and you just need the times, everything just needs a click. You're just waiting to get that yes. The yes is there, it's coming. You're just waiting for the yes. And this is your journey to the yes. May have no's, but don't tell yourself no. Really, let's think about all of the people who have made this world a better place. If they would have stopped when there was adversity, if they would have stopped when they felt fear, feel fear. Someone I heard this, it could have been in church, but do it scared. You're scared. I completely understand it. If we have more time, I'd go into my more of my personal stuff, but it's going to be scary after you get in. It's going to be scary after your first year, during your first year. Those first finals are going to be scary. It's going to be scary when you take that bar. You've put a lot of time, energy, effort into it, but do it scared, because no one is going to come to you with anything, and anything worth having is going to be a little bit difficult. But the right place for you will believe in you, will champion you. I always say if it's not here, that's perfectly okay. If it's not at Western New England, but the right place for you will be a place where you can flourish. It will be a place where you are valued, you are accepted, you are appreciated for all the things that you bring outside of a number. And the school you want may not be the school, but there is a school for you. You will get your degree, you will get your license, you will become the big ESQ. It'll be in your name. If that's what you want. You might have just wanted the JD, but if you want to be the ESQ, it is there for you. And there are so many people, so many resources. This is a brilliant resource that unfortunately I did not even know when I was going through this process, and I would have loved to have it. And I watched one of your other videos, and I saw that you said, like, don't let this information just go and the contact go, and you don't actually put forth any effort to interact with it and actually do anything with this information. So please do something with it. But don't tell yourself no. You can do this. You are so much more than any score, any CAS report, any financial barrier, anything that other people had told you. If a advisor told you that you wasn't going to be able to do this, you're so much more than that. You can do this. You all have my put my email there, so you all have me as a resource and my connections as a resource. So please reach out. I'm very, very serious about that, and we can set up a Zoom meeting and all of that other stuff, Kiki, offline. But yes, I'm so very grateful for this platform and for platforms like this that demystify the process for us that did not grow up seeing people in these spaces. And I have a letter next to I actually have my admissions letter up on a cork board, like right near my desk, and a letter next to it is from like 1959, and it's of someone not being admitted into medical school because they were Black, and it literally says, plain English says, that that's why they weren't admitted. And now we're here having a conversation about how to get more money and how to submit the best application, and like, we have come so far, but you gotta push, love. So I'm very, very proud of you all for joining and staying up this late, and thank you so much for having this platform
And,
me on.
and again, thank you so much, Taya. And as you were speaking, one of the things that it spoke on my heart, it says, we have to change our mindset. It doesn't mean no.
Mm-hmm.
Not yet.
And not there.
There
You could be, you don't know what is awaiting you behind certain doors. So some doors we should be very grateful that stayed closed. And so there's a door open for you somewhere, but you just gotta push.
And the only way you're gonna get there is by keep going.
Keep going.
Thank you so much, yo. She part of the family, cousins and kin folks, y'all. But again, don't just consume this information. She dropped her email. I'll put it in the stories as well for you guys to reach out, connect. She gave us the tea. Now I want you guys to do more than just drink it. I want you to apply it. Sis, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Continue to fight for your lawyer dreams. Peace and blessings, and we'll see you again next Wednesday. Take care.
Bye.